Hey guys, Sublord here, back in with another action figure review. Today I'll be wrapping up my looks at the Ghostbusters Plasma series with the Build-A-Figure Terror Dog. This, of course, is brought to us by the fine folks over at Hasbro, as well as my good buddy, Evil Villain. Click the link in the description below. And on over to Instagram, give him a follow, let him know Overlord sent ya. But as always, don't be a jerk. I'll bust your ass, bitch. 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 Not sure how I was going with that. But either way, this is the final figure in the Ghostbusters Plasma series we'll be taking a look at on the channel for the foreseeable future anyways. If they make more from the classic Ghostbusters movies, maybe I'll check them out, because I would like to have a Slimer and a Stay Puft. I would like to get a hold of that Rick Moranis 2-pack with the other Terror Dog, but I don't know if that's going to happen because that was a PulseCon exclusive, so I don't know what that goes for in the secondary nowadays. Probably a lot, so I'm not going to drop that kind of coin on a collection I have no money invested in. But I got to tell you, this Build-A-Figure right here is probably a good example of why this line died. If you're expecting the Zabu Build-A-Figure out of this thing, you're not going to get it, man. You're just not. And I got this before the Zabu Build-A-Figure, and I was slightly underwhelmed by it, not going to lie. It's got some things that I'm just like, you know, the Diamond Select one has more articulation than this. What is this? What's going on here? So, makes me tempted to want to double up on that one, but, you know, it is what it is. I like Ghostbusters, but obviously not enough to invest money into it. So before we get too far ahead of ourselves, here he is. She, I think it's a he, I don't know. Along with its Master Zool. Good old Sigourney Weaver. And you can see that she is obviously taller than they are. I'm pan the camera up here, you can see that. Clear as day. That said, it is a Terror Dog. I don't think I really need to compare it to much else. And of course, since it doesn't have any accessories, why don't we just take a closer look at it? So first of all, torso is very hollow, kind of cheap, no articulation there, whereas the Zabu Build-A-Figure was a nice solid PVC torso with a diaphragm joint. Tail don't even move. It's just a soft kind of bendy plastic. As far as articulation it does have, though, the neck is on a double ball peg. I feel like there should have been a cut up here too, maybe a double joint, because this is kind of weird. I feel like this should have been like a skin flap piece over an extended ball peg that went into the base of the skull. It does have a hinged jaw, for what it's worth. Looks like the Terror Dog. I mean, it's movie accurate, but it's all shiny. I feel like it would have been better, more matte finish. I'm being a little bit more brutal on this review because I love the Terror Dogs from this movie. I think they're super cool aesthetically, but this just, the Diamond Select one kicks the crap out of this. Like, there's no comparison. The shoulders, if you want to call them that, go out about that far, back down, forward and back. The elbows, again, if you want to call them that, hinge up and down, kind of loose, but whatever. He's got a swivel in the elbow as well. And he's got a hinge in the foot with a rocker, but it's so steep you're not going to get a lot out of that. Now here's the kicker. The back legs are just a swivel. Very squeaky swivel. They don't even hinge out. It's weird. Like, very weird. I almost feel like they don't peg in all the way either, so I don't know what's going on there. That's kind of odd. They didn't give him a hinge swivel hip, but he doesn't have a hinge swivel knee either. So he is like static until you get to the foot. You get a hinge down there with rotation, and then you do get a hinge in the foot itself with rotation. And I think it might even be, no, it's not the same. So yeah, he's very static, and it's like this should have had an articulation point here and here and here and at the base of the skull to really tie it all together, but he doesn't. It's very strange. There's space to put him there. There's more than enough space, but they just didn't do it. So that kind of blows. I'm not going to lie. You know, the NECA Bronx moves more than this. The NECA Werewolf in London moves more than this. The Classified Series Timber moves more than this. And that's a much smaller, skinnier, thinner amount of plastic to work with. So it's just kind of surprising that even the Ghostbusters themselves, they have double elbows and knees. This Zool has double knee, thigh cut, ball hips. She's got hinge swivel elbows, but a lot of the female figures from this time did. Heck, Gozer had the freaking inverted ab crunch. But this thing is like super static. It's very odd. Maybe this was before Timber and all that. So I guess you got to give them a little slack, but it would be nice to see them revisit the Terror Dog, give it a matte finish, retool the torso. I think the front legs are probably fine. Maybe a ball hinge ankle route for the feet, but I think the front legs are probably fine. But the back legs and the torso, I think, could be reworked. Even the head is alright, but you know, I still think a ball joint in the base of the skull would have been better. So before we wrap this up, bring in our two regulars, the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibulus, and the infamous 11 Spawn, who, as usual, towers over everyone, because this is just a dog, after all. He's not going to be taller than Spawn. No way. No way at all. So, open the camera up a little bit so you can see that there. A little disappointed that this thing doesn't at least have a little bit more going for it aesthetically, because I would have loved to have put it with my Mythic Legion's Goblins, but it just does not look like it will fit in at all. Diamond Select one will, but again, I don't have those. So, with that being said, it's time now that we move right along and wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, and if you were expecting something like the Marvel Legends Zabu Build-A-Figure, but in the form of the Terror Dog from the classic Ghostbusters movie, fortunately, you ain't going to get that here. Aside from the fact that this thing straight up does not have any articulation in the rear knees or the torso, and also doesn't have in and out at the, I guess we want to call that a hip, the hip. It just doesn't feel quite as solid as the Zabu Build-A-Figure from the Marvel Legends line. It just doesn't. It feels very hollow, feels very cheap, but I don't think these figures cost $25. I think they were still $20 a piece, and I think in this case the whole is better than the sum of its parts. The quote-unquote villains, we'll call them, or the ghosts in this case, seem to be the weaker aspect of this Plasma Series wave, at least this wave. I'm not sure about the others, but the Ghostbusters themselves, while they do lack stream effects for the rest of the team other than Winston, I think they make up for the, again, we're going to call them villains or ghosts, being a bit lacking, because the Ghostbusters themselves are super duper solid, and I couldn't be happier with this set of figures. I only wish that I had Rick Moranis and the other Terror Dog to kind of put a cap on this set and complete it, you know? But it is what it is. So, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.